Hey Alpha fam, let's do a quick market update. Before we begin, I do want to say that nothing in this video is financial advice. Everything is for educational purposes only. This is just my own analysis on the market. Also, if you're new to this channel, if you could please like, comment, and subscribe, we really do appreciate all of the support. Let's get into the market, guys. So, a couple of things have happened, and there's one thing I did not like. One is losing that 50-day EMA. We talked about this yesterday in the way that I kind of like look at the weekly bias and like how I kind of develop things and how I look at the market and how I get an idea of the general direction I think we're going to go. The reason we've come down is because on Friday, Trump made some comments and some tweets about Greenland. He's got his eye on Greenland, thinks it's a military strategic location, and he is basically grandstanding with the EU trying to overtake this area. He put a tariff on the EU, which then they, obviously retaliate, and then you start these trade wars. And what essentially happens, and we've seen this playbook this entire year, guys, Trump does this all the time. He comes out with these announcements and this stuff on a holiday weekend, after the stock market closes. Why? He wants people to have a chance to absorb the initial shock without it destroying the market. All right. So then what he does is he makes these announcements because then the next thing that will follow up is sometime this week we'll start hearing it. Scott Bessent or Trump or one of these guys will come out and say, oh, we're in talks with the EU. Everything's okay. And then they'll set up a time and they'll start talking. As they start doing this and they come to an agreement, then it's going to remove that uncertainty from the market. Also, today at 10 o'clock a.m., supposedly, the Supreme Court is going to be making a ruling on the tariffs. So this has brought quite a bit of uncertainty, but I think it's going to be a short-term uncertainty. All right. I think these are the narratives that market makers are going to utilize and have used to be able to liquidate longs, guys. And we talk about this all the time. If you're using leverage, you have to be very careful. You are going to be hunted. And it's not going to be just you being hunted. Like they're not targeting one person, but clusters of liquidity. Because if you think you're the smartest trader in the world and you don't think that other traders know where to put stop losses and you don't think other people have, liquidation levels, then you're crazy. Because most people are kind of like a herd mentality, kind of follow the herd. And these market makers and exchanges know this, and they sweep these liquidity clusters. With that being said, what I try to do now is, do I think we're at a local bottom? Do I think we're at a local bottom? Do I think we can start moving up from here? And I'll show you guys a couple of reasons why I think we can. And then I also want to show you guys that there's also perplexity for us to maybe haven't had a chance to complete the spring. And we've talked about this. We can complete the spring in the beginning, the middle, or the end. I was in the camp looking at price action and how things kind of, were structured that we had hopefully completed the spring in the beginning. But Marty Party said, hey, there is a very good chance that we could potentially still do it. So the way I look for local bottoms is this. First thing I notice when I look at this chart right here, guys, is I want to draw a trend line right here. All right. The reason why is this trend line, you can see if I push it up just a little bit further, how this is holding us support, and we're literally right at that trend line. All right. The next thing that I want to do is I want to put a fib. I put the fib down here from the range low to the range high because I want to see if we're at an area of support on the fib. The biggest one is the 382, the golden pocket. All right. And you can see where are we at right now finding support right at that level, guys. Now we need to hold it. This is a daily. So if you know that we have the entire day to basically close above this level right here, and we're almost there. We only need 91,207 for that to hold, and we're at 91,000 right now. $200, very super easy, super doable. And if we hold that level, that's going to look really good. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for confluence, all right? Multiple different things that are indicating either that we're at a local bottom, that are kind of lining up to give me a bias that we are at a local bottom when we can start to bounce. So this is, now we're looking at, we're at a trend line. We're basically sitting right below the 382. Both of these are looking all right. And then so the next thing that I want to do is I am going to want to look at the RSI, because now I want to go into the smaller time frames and look for momentum shifts. All right. So we can look at the daily, we're at 46. We really don't want to break below the 40. Typically, when the daily resets on a bullish uptrend, you usually come into the 50 to 60 region, and then from there you bounce, and then you start your next uptrend. I'll show you an example. When Bitcoin broke above this right here, you can see it started its uptrend. And every time it got into one of these oversold, it would come back down, reset, and then start its next move up. Come back down, reset, start its next move up. Come back down, reset, start its next move up. That's what the RSI does. It fluctuates. It's an oscillator. It's a momentum oscillator. All right. And people's general look at or view of it is if it's above 70, it's overbought. If it's below 30, it's oversold. So what I like to do is once I get a daily bias, if I think we're at an area that is ready to start, it's at an area where it can start to bounce from, on the daily, I want to look on the lower time frames to look for what I call our bullish divergences. So the first thing I'm going to do, I usually come in the 4 hour. I like to see if we're oversold or overbought on there. We're at 26, which is crazy oversold. I come on the 2 hour, and I'm starting to notice that there is a potential that this right here maybe is a hidden bullish divergence. So if you can see that this thing is making lower lows right here, and ever so slightly, and you might not even be able to see it on this one, but I'll show it to you, this thing is making a higher low, ever so slightly. So let me show you on the 30 minute. Now it pops out. Now you can see it. This is where I would be saying, okay, when I see this, this means that momentum is shifting. Buyers are stepping up and pushing that momentum back to the upside. All right. Then on the 30 minute, we've kind of got this double bottom bounce kind of pattern right here. All right. And then you have this big hammer, which shows that buyers stepped up on the 30 minute and bought at this level. $90,000 is a very psychological level for Bitcoin. All right. Just like the 100,000, all of those solid numbers, 80, 90, 100, 110, they're all either going to be support and resistance zones, depending on where they're at. And then the next thing that I would like to do is after I look at that and kind of get an idea of where we're at and if I think the shift in momentum is actually going to happen. And you can see, is this level a prior resistance or support? And you can see this level was prior support that turned into resistance. Prior resistance that turned into support, and we're finding support on it now. We're also basically creating higher lows. So you can see here, structurally speaking, higher high, higher high, higher low, higher low. So if this thing starts to bounce, then we can start getting a continuation. Now, there is also, let's say they come out today at 10 o'clock and say, yep, tariffs are off the table, we're getting rid of them. Then that, along with the Greenland thing, would justify us potentially coming down and creating a spring. And what the spring will be is just a quick sweep down, probably right below this level right here. Liquidate anybody that had a long in any of these positions, and then it would immediately soak up that liquidity and start to bounce. And then we would start our uptrend. All right. And what the spring looks like is this. And Marty Party's been talking about it. He's been saying, he's been in the same context as I have, or the same opinion as I have. We've been either in two parts of this accumulation. We're either at this part where we've started to make the move to the next uptrend, or we're still in it and we haven't completed the spring yet. Now, again, I've talked about this several times. The spring does not have to happen at the end. It can happen in the beginning. It can happen in the middle. It can happen any part of that accumulation zone. But when it happens, that is usually your best R&R. What I tell guys, if you're trying to catch one of these, they're pretty difficult to just like catch. So what you need to do, if you're looking to get one of these really good entries, limit orders, guys. Limit orders. Even if you don't think they're going to get hit, put a limit order on something. And what you do is just look for range lows. You look for liquidity sweep levels, our prior lows. Put your limit orders there, and you don't get filled unless they get hit, guys. It's that simple. So with that, we want to look at NASDAQ. What it looks like with NASDAQ is it's come back to the bottom of this region right here where it's basically been finding support. We don't want to see it obviously lose it. We want to see it hold it. That also S&P 500 is finding support right here on its 50. So that looks pretty good. Bitcoin dominance is a lot higher than where I want it to be, but it's right at a critical level on the weekly. So we would like to see that reject. And then USDT dominance is obviously at a level higher than I don't want it to be. It needs to come down a bit too, but it's also at this area that you can see this was the prior support. It would be nice if it comes up, find resistance, and then boop, rolls over. All right. With that being said, guys, I don't think we're out of the woodworks yet. I think we've got a little bit of a volatile week coming up ahead of us. I'm pretty interested to see how things work themselves out. I am, obviously, guys, I'm extremely bullish on this year, all right? I think the reason why Trump picked to do this right now is because he has to hurry up. He doesn't have time to dick around, all right? So anything he wants to accomplish that's going to have a negative effect on the market, he has to do it immediately because midterms. When midterms come up this year, guys, he doesn't want to be throwing out any macro FUD events that are going to tear down the market because he wants the markets to be at all-time highs going into midterms. Midterms are extremely important for Trump, guys. And I think he's going to do everything in his power to keep these markets ballooned up during that period of time because let's be honest, Trump loses midterms, probably going to get impeached. They only need, I think, 5 more votes to get him impeached. Seriously. He's not a very liked guy in Washington. And with that being said, this is something that we could prepare for that could actually cause the bear market. And we'll make a video on that here in the next couple of days, guys, where I break down my thesis on the potential start of the bear market and what are some of the drivers behind it. Not just the 18-year real estate cycle, but potentially Trump getting impeached. There could be some shakiness coming up at the end of this year, which gives somebody the best buying opportunity in the world. But I do think we get a massive run before that happens because of all the other bullish events because of the midterms. All right, guys? With that being said, guys, keep your notifications on. I'm going to keep you guys updated. Also, if this is the first time you've ever, found this channel or found one of these videos, my name's Coach JM. I've got 5 years experience inside of digital assets. I'm also an expert inside of Luke Belmar's Capital Club, where I host the Crypto Talk workshops bi-weekly. The founder of Alpha Syndicate, published author. And if you're wanting to learn this type of stuff, if you want to learn macro fundamentals, technical analysis, trading strategies, if you want to be in a network with guys that are all working together, if you want to be coached and mentored by experts like myself, click the link below, guys. We'll see you inside.